The wealth was so incomprehensible, it became a joke, a grim, dark punchline whispered behind gloved hands in the parlors of Bartlesville and the back rooms of Tulsa. The joke was that the Osage Nation, a people forcibly relocated, swindled, and diminished by the relentless march of American manifest destiny, had somehow stumbled backward into a king's fortune. They hadn't found gold. They had found black gold. The discovery wasn't an accident. It was a geological certainty beneath land the U.S. government had deemed worthless when it pushed the Osage onto the reservation in the late 19th century. Below the dusty prairies of Osage County lay one of the largest single pools of crude oil in North America. The Osage had been astute. In negotiating the final allotment of their reservation in 1906, their leaders, led by Chief James Bighart, had insisted on a radical clause. Unlike all other Native American land distributions, the mineral rights, the subsurface oil and gas, would not be divided and sold off. They would be held communally by the tribe. This was the birth of the head right. A head right was a share in the tribe's communal mineral wealth. There were roughly 2,229 of them, distributed to those whose names appeared on the 1906 tribal roll. Each head right was an ironclad claim to a fraction of the royalties from every barrel of oil pumped from their land. As the Roaring Twenties began and the demand for gasoline and industrial lubricants skyrocketed, the wells drilled across Osage County began to gush fortunes. A single head right could yield over $10,000 a year, a staggering sum when a typical American factory worker earned less than $1,500. A full-blooded Osage family, who might own 4, 5, or 6 head rights, was pulling in the equivalent of millions of modern dollars annually. They were building invisible palaces. The Millionaires' Club. The Osage didn't just spend their wealth. They displayed it with the quiet, defiant pride of a subjugated people finally asserting their power. In the dusty, boomtown streets of Pawhuska, the tribal capital, you could see their opulence in startling contrast to the surrounding poverty. They drove gleaming new automobiles, Cadillacs, Buicks, Pierce Arrows, often trading them in every few months. They wore custom-tailored clothes from Paris and New York. They sent their children to expensive boarding schools, hiring white chauffeurs and even white domestic staff. Full-blooded Osage women wore magnificent blankets and traditional silver ornaments over French silk gowns. Their homes were not teepees, but sprawling stone mansions equipped with electricity, indoor plumbing, and servants' quarters, all built just blocks from where they might still hold sacred ceremonies. This reversal of power, this sudden dizzying economic and material supremacy of a Native American tribe over the surrounding white community was nothing less than astonishing. It was unprecedented, and it was deeply unsettling to many white residents of Oklahoma, who viewed this wealth as an unnatural, even offensive affront to the social order they believed God had ordained. But the wealth came with a crippling, insidious caveat. The U.S. government, claiming to protect the incompetent Osage from swindlers, had instituted a guardianship system. The irony was venomous. If an Osage citizen was deemed by the local court to be full-blooded or otherwise not sufficiently competent to manage their own money, a white guardian was appointed to oversee their assets. This system was an open invitation to theft. The guardians, local bankers, lawyers, and businessmen, were granted complete legal control over their Osage ward's vast oil royalties. They charged outrageous fees, often diverting hundreds of thousands of dollars into their own pockets through inflated invoices, kickbacks, and outright embezzlement. The courts rubber-stamped nearly everything. The Osage, for all their wealth, were treated as minors in their own land, forced to beg their guardians for pocket money to buy a loaf of bread or a new car. This legal theft was rampant, but it was just the appetizer. The main course was murder.